Hey guys, it's Dr. Jennifer Paul with Conscious Healing Solutions, and I'm here for Free Therapy Friday to talk to you about the concept of self-respect. Last week we talked about developing compassion for our bodies. We talked about developing it through the way that we speak to ourselves, the messages that we give ourselves, and again, developing that concept of overall compassion. And another way that we can cultivate that compassion is to really take a look at how we feel about ourselves. And that concept of self-respect. Self-respect means that we honor ourselves, that we know our worth. And not only do we know our worth, but we act in accordance with that worth in the way that we speak to people, in the way that we allow ourselves to be treated. And so today we're going to talk about ways that we can actually start to develop a stronger feeling of self-respect. Because I find that oftentimes we give more respect to others than we actually give to ourselves. So how do we begin to put these practices of self-respect into play? Or how do we begin just to start to develop that self-respect? And the first thing that we have to do is make a conscious choice. We have to choose self-respect. We have to choose to put ourselves first at times. We have to choose to acknowledge that we are worthwhile, that we're worth it. Once we can make that choice, we can start to take some other steps. One of those other steps is making the choice to consider your feelings. Just because somebody doesn't agree with how we feel doesn't make it wrong. Self-respect involves being honest about how we feel, being honest about how we feel about ourselves, being honest about how we feel about others. Another way that we can cultivate this self-respect is to avoid putting ourselves down. A few weeks ago on Free Therapy Friday, we talked about the negative self-messages that we give ourselves, the shoulds, those perfection messages that we give ourselves. Well, all of those kind of negative or self-defeating thoughts can chip away at our self-respect. So we really need to pay attention to how we're talking to ourselves, the internal messages, what we're telling ourselves. Another way to cultivate this self-respect is to demand it from other people, to not let other people put you down, to not be in a relationship where you care more for the other person than they care for you, to be in a relationship that you feel that you're allowed to speak up in, to be in a relationship where healthy boundaries are present. So the practice of self-respect also involves really picking and choosing who we allow into our lives and how we allow those people in our lives to treat us. Another way to practice self-respect is to practice self-care. If we respect ourselves, we are going to allow ourselves to take care of ourselves. We've talked about self-care in the past of taking care of your body, nourishing your body, taking care of your time, allowing yourself downtime, allowing yourself to choose to do the things that you want to do. So these concepts of choosing self-respect, considering your feelings, avoiding those self-defeating messages that we give ourselves, making the conscious choice to decide who am I going to allow in my life, who am I not going to allow in my life, and that practice of self-care are all going to start to lead to higher levels of self-respect. Again, remember, self-respect is how we feel about ourselves, the worth that we think we hold. And so over the next week, I'd like you guys to think about ways each day that you can practice cultivating that self-respect. Little moments where you can focus on maybe building yourself up, giving yourself positive messages, allowing yourself to practice self-care, allowing yourself to speak up in your relationships, allowing yourself to say no. Maybe you say no to somebody that needs money. Maybe you say no to an event that you really never even wanted to go to. That is the practice of self-care. So I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. I hope over the next week you will start to notice and choose self-respect. And I look forward to speaking with you next week. Take care.